everyone. Hope you are doing well. Brentford against West Ham on Sunday. So I thought it was only right to catch up with Tom and see what he's thinking ahead of the game. Tom, Brentford season, what are you saying?
Not too bad at all, mate. Not too bad at all, is it? I definitely can't complain. So much for the speculated second season syndrome. It's been a very, very good season for us. So yeah, sitting pretty in the top half and currently the biggest team in West London with Fulham and Chelsea below us. So I thought I'd get the dig in early, nice and early.
Yeah, quite right.
No, it's been great. Really, really good season. Really happy. So yeah, can't complain at all.
Let's just say the second season syndrome. What's stopping you sort of doing that, if you like? Why have you bucked that trend and managed to progress?
I have honestly no idea, to be honest. It's been I'm not really sure. I think it comes down a lot to the recruitment with what we do. The classic, I mean, well, Klopp says that for Liverpool, but the no dickheads policy at Brentford definitely comes into account, and having the people that come in, they definitely base it. Obviously, a lot of people know a lot of it's based on stats, but the other side of it is about the actual character of the person as well, and try and have the right person and the right character to come into the squad. That they're not just like, they're not there for the easy ride. They're there as hard workers, and I think that's definitely helped. You've obviously seen a lot of the teams throughout the years come up and spend quite a lot of money as well on players, and then they've sort of either done well and gone or stayed. And I think we've seen a lot of the teams where they've done really well in their first season sort of being picked dry. Whereas I think because we're a relatively well-run club, like last year, I don't think we lost. I'm trying to think if we lost anyone actually from the last year's team. I think we kept everybody, so that's definitely a major factor. And obviously, then this year all we've done is add to that squad, so made it stronger and made it slightly better than what we had last year. So yeah, pretty good so far.
Feeling confident of getting a top 10 finish?
I would hope so. Now where we are now, I'd be disappointed if we fell. I mean, you've got Chelsea. Chelsea's the only team really, and obviously Palace and Bournemouth are back there, slightly further back. To not finish top now would be pretty disappointing with the games we've got left. So,
are you chalking that up as a success?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I thought so. What, last year we were 13th, and I thought if we could match that or slightly beat that this year, I'd be really happy. But the fact there was even talk of us finishing in the European places at one point. Obviously, we've fallen slightly back from that now, which, to be honest, I've got no issue with at all. But yeah, to finish where we are and to finish strongly would be nice. Obviously, some tough games, but pretty happy.
What's your aims for next season then? Because obviously you've been safe for a long time now, and you've sort of been in the mid-table, top end of the mid-table bracket for what feels like half the season or something. It doesn't feel like you've really left that area. So for quite a while, you as fans, and you'd imagine as a club, you're already looking at next season. You probably have been for quite some time now. But as a fan, what's the expectation? And how far can Brentford progress long term, do you think?
It's a tough one, really. I think same again, really. Same again is the perfect circumstances, really. If we can match again what we've done this year, that'd be amazing. To finish in the top 10 with the budget we have. We spent the second least amount of money this year, and I think we have the second or third smallest value team in total. I think it's going to be a different year next year because I think we'll lose a few players potentially. David Raya being linked as one of them, and Ivan Toney, depending on bans and certain things coming in, depends on if he goes, if he stays, or even if he's playing at certain points. So I think it's going to be definitely a different season next year. But again, still incredibly optimistic. I've already seen a couple of people who were linked for replacements of those people who look fantastic, really, are perfect replacements for those people. So I think if we can stay sort of around the same as what we've done this year, if we can challenge for top 10 again, would be amazing. Without being too pessimistic, I don't expect us to go, we're going to finish in the top 7, we're going to be challenging for Europe, because when you think about it, just with a bit of realism there, and you look at the teams, especially now you've got the added teams of, Brighton obviously doing incredibly well, Newcastle obviously now have the huge backing that they have, and obviously have done incredibly well this year. And you look at the sort of teams around there, and the teams that have also dropped away this year who were there previous year. So obviously Chelsea being the major one, and yourselves obviously. I do expect obviously yourself to be that next year. And so then you're looking at those teams and go, well, where do they fit in to the picture? And again, it's like looking at us in comparative spend of what we can spend compared to you guys. It's going to be, it'll be a different season, I think. But anywhere around the top 10 again would be a fantastic season for us.
Are you concerned about your limited budget, or are you not too bothered because you're confident your club can use it well and go get good value for money?
Yeah, no, I mean, the hit to miss rate that we've seen over the last years, it's been incredible. There's been very, very few that we've not seen do well, or at least retain the value that they had previously. So, even if they've not been fantastic, not been the best players in the world, they've still retained an amount of value where we can then at least sell them on for a similar amount of money, or performed well enough that, they've seen out their contracts and moved on, and, we've got the value out of them for what they've done. I guess on my best, the example we've got at the moment is obviously Sergio Canos' contract runs out at the end of the year. We do have another year extension on it, but he's been out on loan for the end of this season. But coming into the Prem, he was a major part of the squad. He's now run down his contract pretty much. There's an extension on it, but whether we just let him go because he sort of served his time and put in the money that we spent on him. So no, I'm really confident in the management behind it. So
yeah, that's something our club's not good at, to be honest with you, knowing when to say goodbye. I know you're quite clued up on West Ham, so I don't mind saying it to you, but at the minute, I was reading a report the other day that we've got Lanzini's contracts expiring, Soufal's, Creswell's, Ogbona's, Fabianski's, all good pros. They've all played their part, but there's probably one or two. I think we almost need to be a bit ruthless and say, right, thank you very much, goodbye. But the report suggested we're going to give all 5 a new contract because there's clauses in there as well. Lanzini's got a 2-year clause, and there's in the report it says we're going to activate it and try and sell him. And I thought, well, hang on a minute, nobody wants him.
Yeah.
His contract's running out, and nobody's offered him a free contract or anything. So I just think sometimes there's a lot of focus on clubs buying players. I think you almost forget how important it is to sell players for A, the right price, and also B, at the right time as well. And I think that's why a lot of neutrals are quite envious of Brentford and Brighton, because you two seem to have this slightly different transfer structures that the rest of us would love to see at our club. But what about your manager then? Because any time a half decent job in the Premier League comes up, he's there. He's just automatically linked, isn't he?
Yeah.
Do you worry about that, or are you quite confident you've got another couple of years with him yet, at least?
So, I mean, he's relatively recently signed a new contract with us.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a big sort of headache taken away of going, is he committed to staying with us or not? Obviously, that's shown that. He's been linked previously. So, I mean, when there was a lot of rumour around Brendan, before Brendan went at Leicester, they even asked him outright, were you interested in the Leicester job? And he said basically no. I really like Thomas Frank. He's really obviously open and honest with what he says. He said that it would have to be a massive opportunity for him to leave somewhere where he's comfortable. And I think it works for him, but also for us. He's obviously an incredibly good coach and manages the team really well. But obviously from the transfer side of things, he doesn't have that as the stress in the background. I think potentially, I guess a good example is obviously when we first started doing what we do with the stats and the looking at the personality of the player, we had Mark Warburton in charge, who just led us to 5th in the Championship in his first season in the Championship, and we sacked him the next season before the even season started because he didn't get on board with the way he did it. And then you saw that he went to another club, and I think he went Rangers, yeah, absolutely, Rangers, and then QPR, and has sort of not really stepped the heights he could have been.
Now he's in our backroom staff.
I'm about to say, is he one of the assistants there?
Yeah. He's assistant manager, whatever. But Kevin Nolan sort of threw him under the bus a couple of weeks ago. It's not really been that well spoken about. I've certainly done a video about it. It was one of those things like, this is massive. I'll do a video about it because we've got so much games with European football. It just disappears. But Nolan was on a podcast and basically said Mark Warburton is responsible for scouting the opposition. And the amount of games we played this season where you feel like we're not really clued up on what the opponent's way to do, kind of thing. And that's Nolan, who's also part of our backroom staff, has said that that's what Warburton does. And you're listening to it thinking, well, he's doing a better bloody job, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's an interesting character. I mean, I really liked him when he was with us, but he is an interesting character that obviously sort of left very abruptly with ourselves. But so I'm not really too worried about Frank going anywhere at the moment.
Right, last question about Brentford, but we're talking about West Ham players to look out for. If there's a West Ham fan watching this that hasn't really seen Brentford much this season, who should they be keeping an eye out for?
Right at this moment in time, probably Kevin Sade potentially won't start against you guys. Potentially will come on, but absolutely lightning quick. Just got his first start for the German national team. He's only 20 years old, 21 years old. Signed him from Freiburg in Germany in January. Is a loan, but probably going to be purchased in. Well, it's pretty much a guaranteed signing. He will be our record signing when he does join at a diddly £22 million.
Is that your Ivan Toney replacement? Should say Toney gets a ban? Do you reckon that's the replacement? It's just put him into the team.
Pretty much, it looks like it. Slightly different type of player, I think. A bit more fast-paced take on a player, more Ollie Watkins style. Actually, he looks more like than a sort of Ivan Toney hold up player. But from what I've seen so far, a bit more game time, get a couple of goals in him, and yeah, he looks really, really good. Other ones I'd say probably to watch at the moment, you've got Matthias Jensen in the middle, who's just been pulling strings all year for us. Look really, really solid. Massively stepped up from last year. Last year was okay, had a good season, but there's people saying, probably going to have to replace him because he doesn't quite look Premier League standard this year. He's absolutely surpassed everything I thought he could be and has looked fantastic. So, and obviously the big man up top. If you don't know who he is, then yeah, you probably live under a rock for the last 12 months. So
pop down William Hill, you'll see him in there.
Yeah.
Right, West Ham. What's your thoughts on us?
Well, I mean, last night was great. A great second half. I did watch the game. It was really good. Obviously, it's been a really weird season for you guys. I mean, last time I was on, we were talking about your top finishes and finishing. What was it, 6th last year or 7th?
7th in the end.
Yeah, it is. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. I just don't really know what's happened. I think because I mean the signings you made in summer as well. I mean, talking about from the start of last year when you signed Paqueta, I was like, wow, that's a proper big marquee signing. Like he's a proper player. From a Brentford point of view, I've really enjoyed watching Ben Rama the last sort of 3-4 months. He's looked almost back to his best at when he was with us. That's, I mean, sadly made me very happy. He looks brilliant. You're coming back into it, and obviously you're now safe. I mean, unless some crazy results happen, you're obviously there next year, which is good to see. And I think honestly, it's now just restarting for next year, isn't it? Hopefully with the European Cup under your belt.
But say, do you think we'll win it? Do you think we'll win that tournament?
I think you will, yeah. I mean, look to the sides on the other side. Was it Basel and who are they playing last night? Fiorentina. No, not a bad side, but I mean, they're not the best sides in the world. Obviously, yesterday I thought you played well. So first half obviously wasn't the best half in the world, but second half looked much better. And I think you will win. I mean, I think you'll definitely be in the final, and obviously then it's anyone. I mean, all finals are sort of anyone can win that, can't they? But I think you put yourself in there.
Yeah, a bit of a strange question. There's been a lot of snobbery towards the tournament. I think a lot of West Ham fans have warmed to it because we've progressed in it. But at the start of the season, I think there was a little bit of suspicion about how prestigious it really is and whatever. But you still get that snobbery from neutrals. As a Brentford fan, and maybe I'm asking with the greatest of respect, I'm probably asking someone from the wrong club here. Would you want to be in this tournament?
So to answer the question, yes. To answer your question from our point of view, no, because we're a little bit lightweight squad wise. So I think if we happen to magically get 7th in this year, we'd do almost like a Wolves, or almost like a yourselves this year, really. Yeah, I say when they got into the Europe. I think the best way to look at it is, well, Jose Mourinho won a European Cup last year with Roma, and they celebrated it like they'd won the Champions League. So no, I don't really think so. I think it's if you can get there, and I think it's one of those, maybe potentially a bit like the League Cup. No one really cares about it until you're in the semi-finals, and then everyone thinks it's the best thing ever. But if you win it, well, no one can take it away from you. You've won a European Cup, haven't you? So
yeah, and European football next season as a reward.
Exactly, absolutely. I mean,
3 years on the bounce.
Definitely. I think it's a good gateway for some of the. I mean, the fact you're playing, FC Basel, and on the other side, you've got the likes of. Whatever you just said, but you know what I mean. It's like it's the teams that you don't see in the big finals. AZ. Obviously, you guys are playing, and Fiorentina, and you see those clubs, and you go, well, they're not recently anyway. Maybe before Fiorentina, but they're not clubs that you go, well, they're going to win Champions Leagues, Europa Leagues. So it gives them a chance. It gives these clubs this. From a small club, I can say the smaller clubs a chance to win big trophies and have millions of people watch the final. So
Yeah, and big clubs as well that have fallen off a little bit. Like next season, it's possible that Aston Villa will be the English club in that competition. You know, a huge club. It's just they just haven't been hitting the heights that they used to and stuff. And players you admire from West Ham, please.
I mean, everyone's talking about Declan Rice at the moment, aren't they? So whether he stays or goes, but yeah, I think he's such an underrated player, even to the point where I know people are talking about silly amounts of money, but I think a lot of people outside West Ham still see him as a defensive midfielder because that's sort of where he plays for England. But he's just so much more than that, as obviously you're aware. Like some of the runs he makes and some of the passing play and build-up play is just he is just an incredible player. And I think people will see that if he does move on to a club where he's allowed a bit more freedom. I mean, and people actually, you know, take a bit more interest once he moves for a silly amount of money because. People still I think see him.
Once he moves, he'll get the recognition he deserves.
Definitely,
definitely. But it's just the way football works.
Yeah, and obviously, our old boy Saeed. I'm just really happy that he's the player he's the £25 million player that you guys bought him for, rather than everyone was. I think towards the end of last year, everyone was getting a bit. Is he really going to work out? Is it time for him to move on? But the fact he's been given a bit more consistency. I think that's what he required, really. He looks much better.
Sunday, how do you see it going then?
We have a very, very good record.
Just be honest, it's fine. We can take it. It's fine.
I think the thing I think the last few games, obviously, you guys have picked up massively. But I think the focus for you guys is now you're safe is AZ the week after. So I see you guys rotating the squad pretty heavily. We still have a chance to finish again above Fulham and Chelsea at the end of the season, finish strongly. So I think that's very much in the mindset of the player. So I think probably see similar to what it was previously 2-0 at your place. I hope so. Anyway, I'm down at the game, so I hope, from my point of view, I hope so. But yeah, I think. Well, I don't know what your opinion is, but do you think it'll be a rotated side for this week?
Yeah, I hope. Actually, I think it'll be a bit of a rotated side. I think the majority of West Ham fans I've seen want to see a completely different 11. Everyone's saying just whatever 11's playing in the Netherlands next week, do not start any of them. Play some of the kids if you have to, but get the other players' match sharpness up and running. Because in the last month and a half, because we've been in a relegation battle, plus we've been in the quarterfinals in the last 16 of the Conference League. He hasn't really had much opportunity to rotate these players. He's not been able to not play Kurt Zouma, Declan Rice, because every game's been important because we're playing for either relegation or the next round of European football. He's rested one or two players here and there when we played Larnaca in the last 16. He was able to not play Declan Rice and Kurt Zouma, but when we played Ghent in the quarterfinal, there was no messing around. He played his first 11 in that as well. So there was an opportunity when we played Liverpool to possibly rotate. He chose not to. He chose to go in with the starting 11, and I understood why he did it. He tried to get something from either Liverpool or Palace, and then we were safe. Unfortunately, we lost both, so we had to go to Man City, and we had that sickness bug where a few players were missing, and then we beat Man U. So I think this game is the first time actually he can probably rotate it without there being much repercussions if we get beat. And I hope he takes it. I really, really do. I think he'll rotate 4 or 5 players. I think there'll be 5 or 6 strong players in there, but I think he'll rotate. He might not. I don't think he'll play Antonio. I don't think he'll play Kurt Zouma. Maybe not Bowen or Rice. I think that would be the 4 he's probably keen to take out the firing line first and foremost. And I'd imagine the rest of them will stay in there within reason. But the players we're bringing in are still Premier League quality. There's, bringing Emerson, who we spent 30 million on, Flynn Downs, who spent 9 million on in the summer. We'll be playing Danny Ings, who we just bought for 50 million. He's on 125 grand a week. He'll be the striker instead. So it's not like we're bringing in, 18-year-olds and stuff.
Sure,
so, But what is that your score prediction? 2-0? You sticking with that?
I think so, yeah.
For what it's worth, it's my score prediction as well. And you know something, Tom? I don't really care.
No, absolutely. And you shouldn't.
I'm not that bothered. As long as he rests those players, I'm not too fussed. If he starts them, then it's like, well, you're going to have to get a result then. You've almost got to justify this. But the difference between finishing 15th and 16th in the league, not really that harsh, to be honest with you. But the difference between getting to final or not is pretty big. Tom, thank you very much for joining me. If you want to hear more from him, please do check out his podcast. It's not about Brentford, though. It's about Fantasy League, but it's pretty good. I tune into it now and again. It keeps me going throughout the season. The link is in the description and on the end statement. Tom, thank you for joining me.
No problem at all. Thank you, and good luck on the weekend. Good luck in the fight. Good luck in the Europa League.
I'm about to say you don't mean the weekend one, but you mean that one
next week.
Yes, exactly. But if you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it. Subscribe to Jammers Chat. I'll catch you in a bit.